In the intricate tapestry of life, it is often the moments of quietude that herald the most significant transformations. C.S. Lewis, a master at deciphering the human soul, believed that God rarely calls to us through the rumble of thunder, but prefers to whisper in the gentle breezes of our daily experiences. As we embark on this journey of discovery, let us seek those subtle signs that indicate the proximity of a divine intervention in our story. Guided by Lewis's insights, we will understand how these silent awakenings can trigger profound transformations in our spiritual walk. Amidst the relentless march of life, where days blend into an endless routine, there lies a hidden invitation to awaken. It is not in the clamor of great revelations that we find our decisive moments, but in the quiet corners of our existence, where the mundane meets the mystical. Lewis reminds us that God often chooses the whisper over the whirlwind to capture our attention and stir the depths of our souls. Reflect on the gentle nudge of a persistent thought, the constant echo of an unrealized dream, or the silent discontent pointing to realms beyond our reach. These are not mere fragments of our imagination, but possibly the first threads of a divine tapestry being woven to the fabric of our lives. Lewis would likely argue that our deepest awakenings often emerge from the simplest moments: the sunrise that evokes an unspoken longing, a phrase from a book that resonates deeply in our minds, or a conversation that leaves our spirit restless for something greater. Awakening, in the Lewisian sense, is the nascent realization that the visible world is merely a shadow of a more substantial reality that calls to us. It is the initial stirring of the heart that suggests our role in a grand narrative, a story written by God Himself. This awakening does not shout from the rooftops, but whispers in the silence of our being, inviting us to embark on a journey of discovery and transformation. By paying attention to these subtle signs, we begin to see our lives not as a series of random events, but as a symphony carefully orchestrated by the divine maestro. Every note, every pause plays a crucial role in the developing melody of our existence. The nature of this awakening is not a sudden illumination, but a gradual unveiling, where the scales fall from our eyes, and we are invited to see the world, ourselves, and God in a new light. By embracing these silent awakenings, we open ourselves to the possibility of change, to the divine twists and turns that God weaves into our stories. For it is often in the gentle whisper of God's voice that we find the courage to let go of our old selves and assume the new roles He has written for us in His grand cosmic narrative. C.S. Lewis observed that hardships often prepare ordinary people for extraordinary destinies. This observation serves as a powerful reminder that our trials, though filled with discomfort, are not mere obstacles but crucibles for growth and transformation. In the shadow of suffering, we find not only the harshness of life, but also the potential for divine metamorphosis. For Lewis, suffering was like a megaphone that God uses to awaken a deaf world. It is in our moments of pain and adversity that we often become more receptive to change, more aware of our fragility, and more inclined to seek something beyond ourselves. This receptivity can become the fertile ground from which a new chapter of our story, written by God, begins to emerge. Consider the biblical story of Joseph, who faced betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment, only to be elevated to a position where he could save nations from famine. These challenges were not mere setbacks, but integral parts of a larger narrative that God was weaving. Like Joseph, we may discover that our deepest struggles are not detours, but essential paths to the destiny God has prepared for us. As we face our challenges, we are invited not to despair, but to persevere, with the understanding that our current trials may be the tools God uses to shape us into the characters we need to be for the next scene of our story. It is through suffering that we often acquire the wisdom, strength, and empathy necessary to embrace the roles God has designated for us. In this process, suffering reveals itself not only as a test of our endurance, but as a means by which God awakens the best within us. It calls us to transcend our limits and discover a greater purpose amid the pain. Thus, as we face our challenges with courage and faith, we recognize that each trial is an opportunity to grow and transform, aligning us more deeply with the grand divine plan for our lives. Suffering, then, can be seen as a sign that God is actively working in our lives, pruning us so that we can bear more fruit, just as a gardener tends to his plants. The pain of the pruning process is real, but so is the growth that follows. By embracing our difficulties with faith and courage, we allow God to turn our trials into triumphs, our pain into purpose. C.S. Lewis famously postulated, "If I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world." This profound insight sets the stage for our third topic, recognizing our deep and unmet longings as signs that we are destined for something greater, something beyond the mere physical realm. Lewis believed that our deepest desires, those that material pleasures cannot satisfy, are not mere whims of the human condition, but echoes of our true home calling us. These unmet desires, these whispers of something more, serve as indicators that our stories are meant to transcend the confines of this world, pointing to an eternal narrative crafted by the divine. When we experience moments of inexplicable longing, when beauty, love, or a sense of wonder awaken in us an insatiable hunger, we are feeling the pull of eternity in our hearts. These moments should not be dismissed as fleeting emotions, but recognized as signs of our participation in a larger divine story. This longing for more is a beacon, guiding us through the fog of routine and the ephemeral, toward the shores of a deeper spiritual truth. It invites us to explore the possibility that the restlessness we feel is a divine discontent planted within us, to lead us back to God, the source of all fulfillment. Lewis saw suffering and desire as two sides of the same spiritual coin. Both awaken us to a reality beyond our immediate understanding. Suffering humbles us, making us receptive to divine grace, while desire elevates us, calling us toward the fullness that can only be found in God. In this process, our lives become a continuous quest for meaning and connection, shaped by the careful hand of the Creator. Therefore, as we face our trials and recognize our deepest desires, we open our hearts to the possibility of transformation and find a path back to our true home. In our journey with God, these echoes of eternity call us to action, urging us to seek our place in the grand divine narrative. They remind us that we are not merely actors on a worldly stage, but eternal souls shaped for an eternal realm. As we attune our hearts to these divine whispers, we open ourselves to the transformative work God desires to accomplish in and through us. We begin to see our lives not as a series of disconnected events, but as a pilgrimage toward a divine horizon, where every longing finds its fulfillment, and every desire points us back to our Creator. C.S. Lewis had a special talent for recognizing the divine in the ordinary, often suggesting that what we perceive as mere coincidences are in fact the quiet workings of God in our lives. He famously stated, "Coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous," hinting at the subtle way in which divine orchestration unfolds around us. This topic delves into the concept of providence and serendipitous coincidences, exploring how these unexpected encounters and seemingly random events can actually be signs that God is actively involved in our narrative, gently steering us towards his intended turns. Consider the serendipitous encounters that alter the course of our lives, the unforeseen opportunities that arise exactly when we need them, or the inexplicable timing of events that, in hindsight, fit together too perfectly to be mere coincidences. These moments, often overlooked or dismissed as luck, may very well be God's touches on the canvas of our existence. In Lewis's view, nothing in life is purely fortuitous. Every encounter, every event, is a brushstroke in the masterpiece God is creating. Our moments of serendipity, the encounters that seem so perfectly timed, are signs of a divine hand quietly guiding us. They remind us that we are part of a much larger story than we can imagine, a story written by the Creator himself, where every detail, no matter how insignificant it may seem, has its place and purpose. Therefore, as we navigate the routines of our daily lives, we are invited to be attentive to the divine whispers and touches, to recognize God's presence amid coincidences and improbable circumstances. By doing so, we open our hearts and minds to the wonder of God's providential work in our lives, seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary and the divine in the everyday. Thus, our journey transforms into a dance with the divine, where every step is guided by a loving and omnipotent hand, leading us ever closer to our true home. Lewis would argue that these coincidences are not random, but purposeful, meticulously woven into the fabric of our lives by a loving Creator. They serve as reminders that our stories are not solitary tales, but part of a grand interconnected narrative, where every character and every event plays a role in the unfolding divine drama. We are invited to look beyond the surface to perceive the deeper connections and the guiding hand of God in our journey. This perspective encourages us to trust in the flow of our lives, to remain open to the unexpected, and to find comfort in the knowledge that, even in chaos, there is hidden order, a divine plot in which we play a part. By embracing the providential nature of these happy coincidences, we allow ourselves to become more attuned to the possibilities that God places before us, more willing to follow the clues he provides, and more aware of the ongoing dialogue between our desires and his will. Drawing from the profound thought of C.S. Lewis, our fifth topic explores the transformative power of trusting in God, especially during times of uncertainty and change. Lewis often spoke of faith as a journey through shadowed valleys and sunlit peaks, with trust in God serving as our guiding light. Amid life's turbulence, a deep peace can envelop us, a stillness that defies the chaos of our circumstances. This peace, Lewis might argue, is a tangible sign of God's presence and a reminder of his promise to guide us through the storms. It is in the quiet of our hearts and the silent trust in God's sovereignty that we often find the strength to endure and the courage to embrace the unfolding chapters of our story. Lewis believed that faith is not an escape from reality, but a deeper immersion into it. True faith enables us to see beyond appearances, to recognize God's hand at work in all things, even in difficulties and uncertainties. When we fully trust in God, we allow him to transform our trials into opportunities for growth and our fear into renewed faith. This kind of trust calls us to surrender our anxieties and worries to God, believing that He has a purpose for every circumstance we face. Like a skilled author writing each line with intention, God weaves the joys and sorrows of our lives into a cohesive narrative aimed at our greater good. Therefore, as we face moments of uncertainty, we are invited to keep our hearts open and our minds receptive to divine direction, knowing that He is always with us, guiding us with wisdom and love. Ultimately, trust in God leads us to a deeper understanding of our role in creation. We are not merely passive observers, but active participants in the great story God is telling. Every decision to trust, every act of faith, contributes to the symphony of our lives, which, in the end, echoes the glory of our Creator. As we live with this trust, we discover true peace and purpose, recognizing that, although our lives may be unpredictable, we are secure in the hands of a God who knows exactly where we are and where we are going. This tranquility does not arise from the absence of problems, but from a constant trust in the One who holds our days in His hands. It is a peace that, as Lewis would say, surpasses all understanding, a serene certainty that no matter how the plot unfolds, the author of our faith is with us, guiding every step. Embracing this quiet confidence involves surrendering our need for control, releasing our grip on the pen with which we try to write our own stories. It means finding rest in the knowledge that, although we may not understand every twist and turn, there is a purpose in every line, a reason for every pause. In this posture of trust, we open ourselves to the transformative work God desires to do within us. We allow Him to write His will into our lives, leading us not only to a place of peace amid the storm, but also to a deeper relationship with Him. It is here, in the quiet of trust, that we are truly prepared for the changes God is weaving into our narrative. In the spirit of C.S. Lewis, we explore suffering, longing, providence, and trust, each path revealing signs that God is at work, reshaping our story. Lewis saw the spiritual journey as a dance between the human and the divine, where our weaknesses are shaped by God's strength and our fears transformed into faith. In pain, we find an opportunity to grow. In longing, a call to the eternal. In coincidences, the invisible hand of God. And in trust, a surrender that brings us closer to the heart of the Creator. Embracing this dance means recognizing that every step, every stumble, is part of a larger plan. By yielding to the divine will, we find freedom and joy, even in adversity. Trusting in God is not mere passive acceptance, but an active surrender that transforms us and aligns us with the divine narrative. Thus, as we follow this journey, we are invited to hear God's whispers in our daily lives, to see beauty and order amid chaos, and to find courage and peace in the certainty of His presence. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth, every longing a reminder of our true home, and every coincidence a sign that we are being guided by a loving hand. In the end, we discover that true peace is not found in the absence of storms, but in the constant presence of God, who guides and sustains us every step of the way. By trusting in Him, we allow Him to write our story, transforming and shaping us according to His perfect plan. And so, our lives become a living expression of God's glory, a symphony of faith, hope, and love, resounding eternally. Isaiah 43:19 brings us a powerful message. In this passage, Isaiah conveys a revelation. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. It is important to understand that God is guiding us through the desert of life, regardless of the challenges we face, and He assures us something new is on its way for us. God is the architect of new beginnings and delights in inaugurating new things. Creation itself testifies to this. He designed our bodies to renew constantly with new cells and hair. We experience new days, years, and seasons. In Christ we are blessed with a new life, full of opportunities and challenges. One of the final promises in the Bible is the renewal of all things, Revelation 21:5. Even if you have gone through long periods of dryness, God is about to bring something new into your life. It may have been a hard path, but renewal is on its way. He promises, I will make a way in the wilderness for you. I know many feel isolated, rejected, and in distressing situations, but this path is the route to your purpose. According to Isaiah 43:19, he declares, Behold, I am doing a new thing. Made in the image of God, we too are drawn to the new. We are constantly seeking innovations, new experiences, and sensations. However, it is curious to observe that when God begins a transformation in our lives, our tendency is to resist. This is the rare occasion when we prefer the familiar to the unknown. I confess that I also resist changes, like many, because I have a specific vision for my life and resist anything that threatens to alter it. Therefore, when God introduces new things into my existence, my instinctive reaction is to resist and cling to the comfort of the known. It is unfolding at this very moment. Are you paying attention? God loves the new, for He is constantly seeking a fresh vessel to perform innovative works in a new era. God is not a replicator. He is an innovator. He does not seek to recreate what has been. He longs to inaugurate the unexplored. Take, for example, an episode from last year. God sealed a door, and despite my incessant pleas, chose not to reopen it. Instead of accepting and moving forward down the hallway towards the uncertain in search of a new passage He might have revealed, I stood in front of that old door, stubbornly insisting. However, I realize that it is essential to embrace the new things that God is orchestrating, to leave behind the missed chances and prepare for the new ones to come. I don't know about you, but I am ready for the new. Here is my question for you. What new thing is God trying to unveil in your life? What is this novelty that God is trying to unfold in your existence? What is this reality that you choose to ignore, but deep down you know that God has called you to a new purpose? What could it be? Some of you are sitting on a divinely inspired dream without giving it the attention it deserves. When God is in the process of creating something new, sometimes it is necessary to step into the territory of the unknown, which may seem uncomfortable, intimidating, and even unpleasant at first. We may be tempted to cling to the life we know, to the comfort of the familiar. However, it is necessary to leave the past behind, trust in God, and embrace what He is doing. Otherwise, we will deprive ourselves of all the wonders that God desires to operate in us and through us. Let me affirm, God is calling you to a new chapter, and it is time to overcome fear. Fear is the main adversary of the new. Fear is the tool Satan will use against you to obstruct your experience of divine magnificence. Fear has the power to paralyze, to make you retreat in the face of God's call, to prevent you from enjoying new graces. And it can prevent God from performing and manifesting the new in you and through you for the benefit of others. Consider the example of Abraham. God introduced a radical change in Abraham's life by instructing him to leave his homeland, his family, and everything familiar to venture into an unknown territory. Abraham chose to put his faith in God and renounce his previous way of life. As a result of his faithfulness, the nation of Israel was established, as well as the messianic lineage of Jesus. The disciples are also remarkable examples. Peter, John, and James left their lives as fishermen to follow Jesus and become his disciples. By accepting the novelty that God presented to them, they played fundamental roles in founding the church and guiding many to salvation. Satan often tries to intimidate us, to prevent us from becoming who God has called us to be. He whispers lies like, "You are too old, you are too young, you are not capable enough, you are not attractive enough, you are not worthy, you cannot do it, your faith is insufficient." He employs these strategies, and for many of us, fear manifests in different ways. Some fear failure. Satan delights in using fear. And what is my response to the adversary? In Christ all things are possible. It is not me, but Christ in me. However, when we decide to trust in God and embark on new beginnings, we must be prepared to face challenges. This is because new beginnings with God often come with periods of trial and preparation, since we are not always ready for the missions He assigns us. He molds and tests us until we are fit, and the desert is often His chosen training ground. Therefore, I may not be sufficient, but Jesus is. This is the message I have for you. Do not let fear prevent you from experiencing the new thing that God is bringing into your life. Do not let fear obstruct your path. Listen well. Begin what God has called you to. Take the first steps in what you were created for. Engage in what you were prepared for. Embark on what God has specially planned for you. Start now. 3 words that can transform your life. Start now. There will never be the perfect moment or circumstance to begin the change you desire. David, the youngest of 8 brothers, seemed insignificant in the eyes of many. However, God had grand plans for him, anointing him as the future king of Israel. But David's coronation was not immediate. He faced a long period of trials and maturation, which lasted about 15 years before ascending to the throne. Like David, other biblical figures such as Moses, John the Baptist, and even Jesus went through phases of testing and refinement. After his baptism, Jesus withdrew to the desert, where he spent 40 days in intense reflection before beginning his ministry. Ecclesiastes, written by Solomon, offers us this wisdom. If you wait for perfect conditions, you will never do anything. How many times have we heard someone say, "when things calm down"? But the truth is that life rarely offers calm. It is a constant learning process to live amid chaos. Therefore, whatever you have planned, start now. Do not wait for the ideal moment. Seek the new that God is bringing. Embrace today's opportunities. Remember that God's mercy is renewed every morning. Look for this new mercy, not a repetition of the past, but a fresh start. When God freed the Israelites from slavery, He took them out of everything they knew and guided them to a new land. Before reaching the promised land, God led them through a longer path, intentionally, to strengthen and prepare them for what was to come. The desert was the stage for their trials and preparation, but they did not pass the test. They could not detach from the past. They longed for the good old days and wanted to return to Egypt. They did not endure hardships with patience. Instead, they complained and murmured. And finally, they did not trust in God and hesitated to enter the promised land. As a result, they were condemned to wander the desert for 40 years. When we face disappointments, when our dreams fail, It is easy to settle and believe that we have reached our limit, but God challenges us in Isaiah. I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? God is about to inaugurate a new chapter in your life. He did not create us to remain stagnant. He has new opportunities, new relationships, and new blessings reserved for us. Do not let this be your story. I have acted like the Israelites myself, but I am learning to trust God and follow Him, even if it means venturing beyond my comfort zone. I am striving to let go of my own plans and embrace His, for God's plans are infinitely superior to ours. If you feel that God is bringing something new into your life, do not resist like the Israelites, but embrace it with open arms. Leave the past behind and be ready for the tests and preparation that will come. If we trust Him, He will elevate us to higher levels and perform wonders through us. Today marks the beginning of a renewed era. The chains that once limited you are dissolving. What imprisoned you is fading away. Obstacles may seem insurmountable. Perhaps you do not see the way to realize your dreams. You feel confined, as if you are imprisoned, limited by your surroundings. But God is proclaiming something new. I am inaugurating a new beginning. I am creating streams in the wasteland. I am turning barren ground into fertile fields. It is time to align with God. Yes, Lord, this resonates with me today. I accept this in my spirit. I am preparing for the new, Lord. Surprise me with your generosity. Transform this adversity. Manifest your magnificence in my existence. Maybe you will witness this novelty tomorrow. Perhaps you will achieve the breakthrough this week. You might get that scholarship this month. Maybe you will witness your healing, your breakthrough, your prosperity this year. When God promises something new, it means it will not be a repetition of the past. It will be something distinct. The new may surprise you. It may not unfold as you imagined. Stay open to how God will operate. Do not restrict Him to a single possibility. Often, what we desire is just a shadow of what God has planned for us. God's plan for your life is grand and will exceed all expectations. Trust in the way He will lead things. If we cling too tightly to our own desires for how things should be, we risk not recognizing the new things God brings. Often, what God has reserved for us may surprise us, manifesting in unexpected ways, through unusual people, and in situations different from what we imagined. Perhaps at this very moment, God is moving in a new way in your life, and you have not yet noticed. He may be offering you a new opportunity, but you may hesitate to accept it. It does not correspond to your previous expectations. He is sending people your way who will bring heavenly connections, but they may not fit what you anticipated. Let go of your previous conceptions. The new that God brings may not resemble what you envisioned. Do not confine future possibilities to past experiences. God's greatest acts do not reside in the past, but await in the future. The question is, are you paying attention to this? Do you believe that God is operating new and extraordinary wonders? Or are you stuck in the past, in what has failed? Redirect your attention. Stop looking in the rearview mirror. Turn your eyes to the horizon. Anticipate divine generosity. Today is a new day. God is doing new works in your life. Works in your life. Works in your life.